Welcome to Roger and Roger. Just in time, we may get this out before the Tennessee-Ohio State game. That game, I've been noticing a lot of people are looking at the Tennessee Vols, thinking they're going to win that game. So we're going to take a little bit of time and take a closer look at that game. And also, on our pinned comment of the week, we made a mistake. Yeah, well, it's Roger's fault, you see. He needs to get his bifocals checked. I did. It was my fault. We know it was your fault, Roger. See, Roger selects the pinned comment of the week because he reads the comments. When he gets done with the crossword puzzles, he'll go read the comments. He's one of those guys that scrolls through the internet and types comments everywhere. He's a comment freak. But when he puts a comment on his own show, he gets the wrong comment. Turns out the pinned comment was the reply to someone else. Wasn't even talking to us. But we still replied because we're troopers. So, we're not going to do a new pinned comment of the week today. We're going to do an apology segment to the gentleman, we presume, that made the comment, because this gentleman, this party, I'll give you the name in a second. I had it written down. I want to make sure I get it exactly right. Fantasy Fatality was roughly what it was, but just give me a second. Apologizing is hard, especially when it wasn't my fault. It was Roger's fault, of course. Well, it was Roger's fault. It's always Roger's fault around here. Yeah. And so the comment that got our attention, my attention, was the rather in-depth breakdown of Georgia's situation, which I felt he had a very good grasp of, and wanted to do a video about some of those topics he presented, which were largely concerning the quality of Georgia's receiving corps. And we will do that in this episode. We're going to find out all we can about those receivers, how they got here, and just exactly why is Georgia's receivers so bad. Well, we're going to obviously cover the Ohio State-Tennessee game. So stick around for that. We're going to break that down a little bit. Looking throughout the internet, that seems to be a very, very much talked about game, and as well it should be. I think it should be a real doozy, and we're going to break that one down just a little bit for you. But first, we did want to talk about the subject of Georgia's receiving corps. There seems to be the three primary issues: drop passes, route running issues, lack of just top-tier talent, and of course lack of depth. A lot of people think we have a lack of elite speed, especially the elite speed on the edge. A.D. Mitchell may have been our best receiver. We haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver in 20 years. As I researched, it was becoming increasingly obvious what the problem might actually be. Perhaps Georgia just isn't really committed to a flashy passing attack. How could a program that recruits at the highest level for 7 years fail to snatch these elite receivers? We seem to be able to find the quarterbacks, even though it also seems we may be aiming a bit low there as well. Despite this problem, we still rely on a passing game heavily the last 3 to 4 years. We did snatch Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, and the latter was only a 3-star recruit. And Brock was a 5-star, of course. And perhaps they factor in ability to block well into their recruiting. And so for whatever reason, it does seem Georgia either cannot or does not aim for those difference makers as receivers. Perhaps they're hard to recruit. The typical Georgia offense does involve receivers doing more than running routes. However, that gets back to the bigger issue of our offensive coordinator, our complete way we approach offense. And you can't complain. The stats are there. This Georgia offense produces. But at this point in time, this moment, the glaring problem at receiver may derail what would otherwise be, despite a ragged year, a championship run. We'll talk more about Georgia's problems at receiver just a bit later. We did promise you the real idea of the video today was to look at that Ohio State-Tennessee game. I'm sure I'll set it backwards. It probably should be the Tennessee-Ohio State game. Because living down here in the South, the general flood of information I see is Tennessee, 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 Tennessee. They are excited about that game, and they well should be. This could be the game that launches Tennessee on their way back. Wow, it takes them back into 1998 territory. You may remember that was their last year. They won a national title. Wonderful times in Knoxville. So I think Tennessee is back. I have always considered them coming into this year as back, solid, where they really belong, somewhere in the top 3 of the SEC, and I think they've made it. And the result and the fruit, they will get a chance to play the best roster in America, according to everybody that knows how to count that. Ohio State is an elite roster, no doubt. However, they did not display that roster against their last opponent, Michigan. Just a little rivalry. Perhaps Ryan Day was holding back in that little trivial game, getting ready to beat whoever he would face in the playoffs. The mighty Tennessee Vols showed up, Roger. Yeah, the Tennessee Volunteers will be tasked of going on the road to a northern environment, 18 degrees and windy. Wow, nice and sunny right here where I'm at, Roger. What about you? Very sunny. Thinking about going on a hike later. Just a day to go outside and pick blackberries or blueberries or anything that's still hanging on to the vine. Yes, Roger, that sounds charming. But you won't be doing that up in Columbus, Ohio. It's wintertime there. We got a little hint of that Edmund Fitzgerald song by Gordon Lightfoot when he explained how bad the weather changes in November in that area. It does get cold, really cold, after the Thanksgiving, I'm told. December, football in Columbus, and the Tennessee Vols, and they are excited. I'm not sure what kind of game it's going to be, Roger. You've looked at it. What do you think? I think Tennessee is going to go with what brought them there. They're going to use their running game. They got one of the best running backs in the SEC in Sampson. They got Nico, who just needs to be a game manager, and he's now not a freshman anymore. He's had a year. I think Tennessee can go out there and go toe-to-toe with one of the best rosters in the country. And I think Ohio State won't be in a dumbed-down offense, but they're facing a really good defense. It's not quite as good as Michigan was in spots, but overall, it's a fairly effective defense. And it might be one of the best defenses in the country overall. The stats bear that out. So I think Tennessee's going to go out there and win a football game. Well, Roger, let's talk a bit about the atmosphere this game presents. Who is under the most pressure? Tennessee or Ohio State? Josh Heupel or Ryan Day? Tennessee is playing with house money, Roger. Josh Heupel has met the fans' expectations. They're 10-2. Making the playoffs, winning a game would be a huge for Tennessee and Josh Heupel. But losing would be incredibly discouraging. However, life would certainly go on. And you contrast that to Ryan Day's situation. Ohio State, and Ryan Day in particular, losing this game could bring down the entire Ohio State regime. Would they actually fire Ryan Day if Ohio State loses this game, Roger? $34 million buyout, I believe. I haven't really touched base with anybody that knows anything up there. I just don't connect to people in the Big Ten. I don't really know anybody, but I do. I've watched some of their podcasts, and now it's a different world up there. They're ready to fire him. I think if he doesn't win, it might be the last game he coaches for Ohio State. That's top of my head. That's a story we can keep on track and keep you interested in this game. The winner's got to go play Oregon. It's not going to get any easier. Do you think Tennessee can actually handle Oregon? Well, that's getting maybe a little ahead of yourself, but yeah, that would be a good game. I think Tennessee, I said earlier, I said it all year, that they were legitimate. And that I said that thinking that we were going to be more like the 22 team. And as I saw how we were certainly human, yeah, Tennessee, I was really worried about that game when we played them. I didn't think we were going to beat them. I really didn't. We did, but they did show us. They did show us that they're a good football team, and I don't know. One game at a time, I'm sure, is how they're handling it there. But this game, I think Tennessee will actually win. I concur, Roger. I believe Tennessee will win this game, and it might. I don't know how I could justify it, but it might actually be a rather impressive showing by Tennessee. So we'll see. Thanks for joining us. We'll wrap this one up because you've got ball games to watch. And once again, our apologies for the misunderstanding with our comment of the week. And thanks as always for listening to Roger and Roger. Until we meet again, ta-ta.